Giving all praise and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakadash, double honors to the elders of GMS, also salutations to all the Akimat that is witness truth, and also shalom to the rest of the hopeful elect. And I have this video right here, and basically this young lady is speaking about, the shameful spewing of the so-called white man. All right, because America tries to go around the world and try to give a lesson on morals and ethics, and they have no room to talk, considering what they did to the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? Which the nations always throw it back in their face, whether it's Iran, Russia, they always throw it back in their face on what they did to the people that once owned this land, but also the people that you brought over here on cargo slave ships. So let's play this video right here.
White Americans have such a deep problem with us, but it's not because we're loud or proud or free, but it's because our very existence ruins their favorite story. We ruin their...
Right, they try to get this story of pureness, all right? Like they just built this land on their own, which is a scripture. Let me grab this scripture real quick. Matter of fact, I'm just going to let this play out. I'm going to let it play out.
Fairy tale. Because in their story, they're the heroes. They're the saviors. America is the greatest country in the world. Land of the free, home of the brave. They sold that story to the world for centuries. But then we come along and we say, no, America isn't that great. Not for us. We say, look at the blood, the stolen lives, the stolen land. And then suddenly...
Right, so let's harp on that real quick. Like you said, look at the blood, right? What does the book of Habakkuk say? Hold on. Because that's what this land was built on. It was built on blood. Right, and really, I can use both of these. Matter of fact, I'm going to use both of them. Let's start with Habakkuk 2:12. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood and establish a city by iniquity. And that's how this place was built, man. It was built by blood, all right? It was built on iniquity. But not just anybody's blood, all right? The children of Israel's blood, okay? That's why when you read the scriptures, the Lord said, him that toucheth them touches what? The apple of my eye, man. So they ain't just build this land just off any old nation's blood, but the children of Israel. Hitler even made a statement. He said, look, if they knew they had the Most High's precious jewels, man, they will basically be scared, in so many words. I can't quote it verbatim, but they will deal in more of a justly manner with those people, all right? So let's go to the other scripture in the book of Jeremiah, because it tells how exactly, it goes into, people building a land or a country for free. It says, Jeremiah 22:13, woe unto him that buildeth his house by unrighteousness, and his chambers by wrong, that useth his neighbor's service without wages, and giveth him not for his work, right? And not even his descendants, right? Hell, they won't even give out reparations. Okay? It says, that saith, I will build a white house, a large chambers, and cutteth him out windows, and it is sealed with cedar, and painted with verlemin, all right? Which basically you can apply that to what him building this country, like the scriptures say, where's the house of the wicked, all right? or where's the headquarters of the wicked, which that will be Babylon. You know, this is where all the wickedness is pushed from. You know, or influence on the world. It comes from what? From America. Okay, this is the modern day Basra. That's why when the Lord returns, speaks about him coming to Basra. All right, let's grab that. Which Basra was the capital of Edom. Okay, and Basra also Basra represents Edom in general. Okay, it says right, Isaiah 34:6. Matter of fact, where do I want to start from? I'll start from 5. It says, "For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumeum," and that's the Greek way of saying Edom, "upon the people of my curse to judgment. For the sword of the Lord, Salakia, for the sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of kidneys of rams. For the Lord have a sacrifice in Basra," see, or what? America, "and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea." And excuse the noise in the background. Matter of fact, let me pause this real. All right, so let's continue. I have to pause that for a second. Let's go back to this video. We're going to hit a couple more scriptures.
That perfect image that they've painted starts to crack. And they hate that. Because once the truth is out, once you expose the genocide, the slavery, the segregation, the systems built on our suffering, they can't play the hero anymore. They have to face the villain in the mirror, and they don't want that smoke. That's why they fight so hard to erase our history, to ban books, to censor curriculum, to pretend that racism is over.
Right.
It's not about protecting kids.
Oh, you know what they're going to, right? Esau doing all those things, what? Pursuing his brother with the sword. That's what the scriptures say. Right? And there's many ways to pursue with the sword. It don't have to be an actual sword. Some of those things lead up to the conditions that Jake is in to this day. You know? A lot of the things you see what's going on in the hood was all set up through these Edomites, man. You know, the redlining, you know, or them actually leaving crates of guns in alleys or in trains. You know, they know exactly what they're doing. All right, not having any jobs there. So what? That leads to what? Robbing, killing. You know. And they're still doing it to this day, all right? They're actively pursuing, Jacob with the sword. And look, it's just going to get worse, you know? They already got ICE out there, you know? Hey, they just going to... Next is the so-called Negroes over here in America. You know, they're going to put you in camps, too. You know? Amos 1:11. "So thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity and anger, and did tear perpetually, and kept his wrath forever." You see? So when people have this image and saying racism doesn't exist anymore, or hate doesn't exist anymore, that's a lie, man. The scripture says different. So let's go back to this video, and I'm gonna get the main scripture that I was supposed to get.
It's about protecting their image. Because if America ever told the truth about itself, then it would have to admit that its greatness was built on theft, terror, and oppression. So no, they don't hate us because we lie. They hate us because we tell the truth. And that truth destroys the delusion they've been living in since 1776.
Right? And that's the shameful spewing. What it speaks about, which we're going to grab that scripture in the book of Habakkuk. Right now, let's go into that word shame. It says pain, feeling of guilt or disgrace, confusion, confused by shame, a state of being in disgrace. See, so the things that they did is a disgrace, dishonor, insult, loss of self-esteem or reputation, shameful circumstance, what brings disgrace and modesty. All right, let's see. You go further into it, right? By 1580s, a thing or a person to be ashamed of, to put someone or something to shame, inflict disgrace or dishonor. You see? And that's what the nations do when America come trying to speak righteously, you know? That's that shameful spewing. Basically, America, you don't have room to talk. Hold on, I think my app froze up, so whatever. See, froze up on me. See, wait, but we'll go to the King James Version on my other app. All right, this is Habakkuk 2:16. Matter of fact, I'll start from 15. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thou bottle to him, and maketh him drunken. Also that thou mayest look on their nakedness. Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also. Matter of fact, let's read that over again. It says, woe unto him that giveth thy neighbors drink, and puttest thou bottle to him, and makest him drunken. Also that thou mayest look on their nakedness. Thou art filled with shame for glory. So that right there, you feel your shame or your glory is really shame, you know, because the way this society was built, man, the things that you did to get to the top, man, you know. It says, thou art filled with shame for glory. So that's your glory. Drink thou also, and let thou foreskin be uncovered. Yeah, because now what? People are putting the cup to you, right? Hell, you even got China sitting fitting all over here, you know? But also what? You're being exposed, all right? Let thou foreskin be uncovered, for the cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be thou glory. So you see, that's your glory. You see? It's that shameful spewing, because we already know how you got America and what you did, man. You know? And you never made things right with those people. Matter of fact, I have another scripture that I wanted to bring out before I shut this down right here. This is Sirach 34 and 22. Let's start from 21. The bread of the needy is their life, and he that defraudeth him thereof is a man of blood. So you see, he's a man of blood, because we are the needy. All right, we're in this predicament. You put us on cargo slave ships, and you brought us over here, but we didn't have nothing, right? And what? You also what? You spilled those people's blood. And he that taketh away his neighbor's living slayeth him. You see? You slay those people. And he that defraudeth the laborer of his hire is a bloodshedder. So you see, you're all about spilling blood, man. All right? All about spilling blood. When one buildeth and another pulleth down, what profit have they but labor? All right. It says, oh, that's why it mentions when you go into the book of Sirach, it says what? They made no account of their labors. All right, which that's talking about the elect. You know, at the end of the day, look, we don't really care that we built this country. We just want the kingdom of heaven. You see, because we know this place is going to be destroyed or what, consumed with thermal nuclear fire, man. All right, so with that, give all praise and glory to Yahweh, by Shem Yahweh Shai, by Shem Rakakadash. Double honor to the elders of GMS. Also salutations to all the Akim out there that's pushing this truth, and also shalom to the rest of the hopeful elect. Peace.